Hi YouTubers, thank you very much for joining me. Here's an update what's going on with the volcanoes and earthquakes there in Hawaii. Mauna Loa has had 10 earthquakes within the last 24 hours. The shallowest was, I believe, this one right here, a 2.0. Let me bring this over. Above sea level, minus 3.0 kilometers in depth. So that would be about 1.86 miles above sea level. Many of these earthquakes are above sea level. Mauna Loa, okay, is about 2.6 miles above sea level. So this magma is rising up, getting really close to the summit. The most recent earthquake, a 2.0, that was 0.6 kilometers above sea level. This 1.9, that was 1.2 kilometers above sea level. Another one, 1.1 kilometers above sea level. There's that 3-kilometer one. There was also one that was 2.0 kilometers. Oh, this one here. I missed that one. This is 3.6 kilometers above sea level. So that would be 2.46 miles, almost 2.5 miles above sea level. And remember, Mauna Loa is only 2.6 miles above sea level. Let's go to that location. Very concerning. They could be having an eruption fairly soon. Yeah, right there on, yeah, it's right along that one fault zone. Very concerning. This here is the most recent image of Mauna Loa Summit. Yeah, and I see something off on the side here. I don't know what that is. Let me bring it over. Here's another image, but this one here is from the 13th. And this one right here is from today, November 16th, 2022, at 9:31 a.m. Hawaii time. Let me bring it over, and I'll bring it down if I can. There we go. All right, here is the most recent image of the west vent in Haugen and Lava Lake, it says. And you can see the time there and the date. All right, so here we have Kilauea. And there's the crater for Haugen, or sorry for pronouncing it wrong. I'm all tongue-tied. Yeah, just another name for me to slaughter, right? But looking at the lava, or the magma, I should say, because it's still under the ground, at Mauna Loa, and then going to Kilauea. Okay, the magma's coming up there at, oh, sorry about that, at Mauna Loa. But look what's going on here at Kilauea. So what it looks like to me is the magma is no longer rising up at Kilauea Summit, but it's coming up there at Mauna Loa. I told you I'm all tongue-tied today. Yeah, another interesting data point. Here we have the tilt for Mauna Loa. Now the green line is raw data, but you can see here it's going up for this one, and it goes back to the 10th, it looks like. And then this one goes back to the 18th of October. And this goes back to December of 2021. And then this goes all the way back to 2017. It's at the highest that it's ever been. For the entire island, all earthquakes, there's been 25 in the last 24 hours. All right, we got a 2.2. Trying to see which would be the largest. Another 2.2. Yeah, Mauna Loa. 2.3, Bahala. That was deep. 29.8 kilometers below sea level. And then, yeah, close to the same location, say 32.5 miles below sea level. Everything seems, yeah, it seems like it's, let's go back to Google Earth. Yeah, it's going up here to Mauna Loa instead of this location. Yeah, and I've talked about the Hilna slump, and I've talked about how fast it would take for the magma when Mauna Loa decides it's going to erupt. Yeah, they're hoping over here by Captain Cook that there's some volcanoes, I guess, over here in this area. It would block the flow if the eruption decided it wanted to come in the western direction. And if it was going to go east, like it has in the past, it would take maybe a couple weeks or even a month or maybe even longer to reach Hilo. All right, they got a new one listed. Now, this is for the last week. There's been 65 earthquakes here on the summit in the last week. Most recent, they're reporting now, is a magnitude 2.8, 0.8 kilometers above sea level. So going to stream view, this would be that magnitude 2.8. And you can see here there's been a lot more than 10 earthquakes in the last 24 hours. This is 8 hours. And I'll go back another 8 hours. Yeah, there's been a lot more than 10. I count at least 15 that are marked in red within the last 24 hours. And you can see here we got blobs of magma, as they call it, coming in. I don't have that most recent earthquake. It only came in after I pulled the data. A larger one here at 2340. That would have been last night. That would have been down by Palahala. They're saying it's a 2.3. I get a magnitude 2.43. So there's not much of a difference between that. All right, let's go back. Maybe this one was Palahala on 1047. Yeah, it is. Okay, I was only looking at Mauna Loa Summit, but it's down here by Palahala, and they're saying that's a 2.0. All right, so now we got a magnitude 1.9, 5.4 kilometers. That's supposed to be by Ocean View, Hawaii. Yeah, you can see here. What do we got? We got some farms and some vacation rentals. Says coffee growers. Let's see what town we got up over here. Or do they even have it named? No, they do not. The earthquake monitor that I downloaded the data from. Let me go up over here. That would be right here, close to the summit. I couldn't get these other three to work, but I did get this one to work. ELEP. The latest update I could find about Mauna Loa was dated on the 14th. It says Mauna Loa is not erupting and there are no signs of imminent eruption at this time. Monitoring data shows no significant change within the last 24 hours. Well, this is 2 days ago. Mauna Loa continues to be in a state of heightened unrest, as indicated by the increased earthquake activity and inflation of the summit. The current unrest is most likely driven by a renewed input of magma, 2 to 5 miles, 3 to 8 kilometers beneath Mauna Loa's summit. Well, we know that it's rising up higher by the minus in sea level. Alerts currently in effect. It says here, temporary closure of Mauna Loa Summit. Mauna Loa Summit cabins and high elevation areas are closed due to increased seismicity. Mauna Loa is not erupting, and I guess it's still at alert level yellow. Yep, getting shallower and shallower. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, minus 3 kilometers, and that other one, minus 3.6 kilometers above sea level. So what are your thoughts? Put your comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you very much for your support. Please comment, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you.